Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk to you about your mindset toward war, your mindset toward standing up for what is right, although the people that have been wronged are people that you may or may not like. Today, I'm going to talk about war and the toll it takes on everybody. Look around you. There's war in Ukraine, and more recently, there was a horrible terrorist attack in Israel where over 1,000 civilians were butchered by the terrorist group Hamas, and the subsequent war that is brewing. But so too is a war in each of our hearts, isn't there? I know you, I know each of you, and we are all peace lovers. We love talking about love. Especially in New Zealand, we love talking about how cool we are, how open minded we are, how we are so kind and loving. But you know what? Although I have no affiliations other than my historical knowledge based on my tertiary study about what happened in the Middle East and what is happening in the Middle East, or West Asia, as some people would like to call it, I was really shocked and disappointed by the silence of my colleagues and friends who love to love and loved being kind. However, and that's okay, we don't have the strength to talk about every issue under the sun because that would be bad for our mental health. However, these same people that love to love and love to be kind were quick to call a ceasefire on about the 19th or the 20th of October. I'm sorry to say you can't have it both ways. To have so let me state my position first. I've got no relatives, no friends, or anyone in Israel. I've got more Palestinian and Palestinian supporter sympathizers as my friends and people that I know. And I do have a lot of people I would call them not acquaintances that are Israeli and Israeli sympathizers. But you see what? You know what? We should have all condemned the horrific attack on the 7th of October against innocent people who were just going about their day. We should have had the courage to know the difference between war, diplomatic solutions or lack thereof in that region, and the butchering, murdering, and rape of innocent civilians. Some people came to me and said, but. And I said, look, I'm not interested in your but. How would you feel if it was you keep saying, but. How would you feel if it was you on the line? There being butchered, enslaved, raped, kidnapped. Or how would you feel if it was your daughter, your son, your grandfather, your grandmother? Put yourself in that place. And then they go on to say, but. I don't have, show me evidence of the Israeli army going and intentionally raping innocent children. They should be punished if they do that. I'm not for a moment supporting the fact that there's no resolution being reached over all these decades on how people can live in the region in peace. Israel's to blame, Palestine's to blame, the Arab nations are to blame, and England and the United Nations in 1948 and Germany before that could all be to blame for this mess. But this is over 70 years ago, and we can find a solution. But the solution doesn't come by saying but. It comes from acknowledging hatred and fighting against terrorism, no matter how or where it turns up. when that crazy terrorist turned up in Christchurch, we all stood with the victims. And so must we stand with these victims. I was really disappointed by some letters that were going on around the country, if that was true, about the imams standing up, um, seemingly for Hamas and not necessarily against the terror attack. I was really saddened by that. What we must do as people that sit in the middle ground is to be able to distinguish between war, which is not good either. And that's why I think that's my area of expertise. We need to change our mindset, each of us, to foster an attitude of peace in our neighborhoods, in our families, and around the world. But we must also have the courage to stand against terror. A lot of the Jews I speak to, Israeli sympathizers I speak to, were really disappointed at the lack of strength, at least from a New Zealand point of view, the government's just wishy-washy response to the October 7th attack, while they were quite quick to call for a ceasefire. Look, I support ceasefires. I think there should be ceasefires everywhere. We must all live together in peace as a humankind. But you can't call for a ceasefire if you don't fight, if you haven't stood up strongly against the initial action that caused and is causing grief to so many innocent civilians in Palestine. So I said to my Palestinian friends who are sympathizers, wouldn't it be great if they are the powerful influencers, if they stood up and said Hamas is against the Palestinian people. We need strong leaders that can create our own state and build it. We need all that millions of dollars going to Hamas instead to be going to building hospitals, building protection, building our schools, building our people. And for Israel's part, we need Israeli sympathizers saying to the Israeli government, we need to foster peace with our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We need to live together in harmony. Instead, all I hear is I heard a New Zealand MP holding on to a flag from the river to the sea. And if you look at the map from the river to the sea, all I see is if Israel had no place, then basically this individual didn't want Israel to exist at all. I don't see how that can be a symbol of peace and coexistence in that area. No wonder people are filled with hatred. And I was surprised, but I must admit, I was pleasantly pleased by the number of Israelis, at least that I've talked to, that want that compromise, that want that resolution, that want a two-state solution, except of barring a couple of extreme misviews, of course. And you can go into my LinkedIn or Facebook pages and read those commentary from the Israeli side, and I've fought against that comment as well, that they should learn to live in peace. But for the most part, at least based on my conversations, the Israelis I've spoken to or the Jews want to live in peace, coexist. But on the Palestinian side, on the other hand, at least those have spoken to don't want it. They want all the land from the river to the sea. Having everything, greed and having everything is not the substance of peace, it's the substance of hate. And one of the points that come up is, but we had it all. But I would encourage you to understand that history, look, by the way, what the colonized world did in 1947, 1948 was absolutely wrong. Let's just divide land here, there, and everywhere, and all will be good. It's not. However, what we must remember is that you cannot go back to a moment in time, travel back into a moment in history and change it, because it's not, people think that history is, that life was perfect. They look at this. I has so many conversations with people about this. People think, they look at it and they think history is just like a smooth chain going round and round, and then if there's one knot in the chain, that they could just somehow unknot it and re-knot it back again, and that somehow the unwanted history would disappear, and life would be perfect. My friends, history is not that. History has got so many influences. So if you, it's like this, if I unknot something here, I will destroy it. I can never put this back into the way that it was. History is like that. You cannot just time travel back into the past and delete one aspect and think everything will go back to the Garden of Eden. It doesn't. History is complex. All we can do is learn from it and never, ever, forever, never, ever, ever make those mistakes again. And to do that, we can't try to erase history as is happening these days, because when we do that, again we start the chain, the circle of life again and again and again and again and again, and we're wound in this maze, not being able to get rid of it. Look what happened. The Jews were powerful, then the Romans were powerful, if you take that area. And then in the Ottoman Empire, the Muslims were powerful, and then the Jews came up again. So now let's take, for instance, that those like people like I'm sure she probably doesn't know. In the passion of a moment, you can hold a flag. So I'm not going to blame her for it. You kick all the Israelis out and give Palestine from the river to the sea. So there's this whole big Middle East or West Asia full of Arab nations and nothing else. What's going to happen? Are we going to solve all the problems in the world? We're not. We're just going to start that cycle over and over and over again until we're all dead and gone and we've not solved anything. So I'm here to tell you, let's find a new solution, a solution based on peace and non-violence, a solution where I hope after the hostages are redeemed, Israel can retreat back and create a new two-state solutions with the Palestinian people. And I hope the Palestinian people and their sympathizers kick Hamas out, both politically and militarily, and create lots. I'm sure a lot of my Palestinian friends can become leaders of that land. Create a balanced leadership where Palestinians and Israelis can live in harmony. Look, I'm not going to be in La La Land. I think maybe for the next 2 decades, there might need to be a wall like East Germany and West Germany. I'm a person that build bridges, so walls are horrid, but maybe that is the only way. And so long as no one person doesn't impose their will on the other person's territory, there should be some kind of peace. And all those millionaires, I even know one person who told me that they give money to the less than balanced view of the Palestinian movement. If they all those millions that can go into building Palestine as a country for medical care, for education, for rocket science, whatever dreams these children have, so they can live in dignity, wouldn't that be a world that we can all aspire to? To do that, my friends, we should have the courage to speak out for peace. And like I said to you before, I get hate mails from both sides. If you say one little thing against one side, there's someone that's got a problem with it, because people are passionate about it. And that's fine. I understand the reasons for the passion. And a lot of my friends say, oh, well, what are you going on about? This is an impossible thing to achieve. But hey, can you see my job? I want to try my best to cross out the im in the possible, so we can make it possible. And I'm telling you, with all your support, my Palestinian friends, my Israeli friends, my other friends who have or have not had the courage to speak about this, be passionate and bring that middle ground into the virtual world, so our voices can be heard, the voices of balance. But I know we can do this for our brothers and sisters in the Middle East or the West Asia and other parts of the world, in Ukraine and other parts of the world, where freedom of movement, a freedom of people being themselves is being constrained. Let's fight for their cause so we can live and let live. Let's understand our history before just making random comments and carrying flags that make no sense. Let's truly believe that this is possible. Let's change our mindsets to have the courage to fight for the right, to stand up for the right, regardless of who the person is that's suffering. Like I said, my contacts, the people that are more closest to, are more Palestinian sympathizers than I've got lots of Israeli sympathizers too, as my colleagues, and yeah, so wherever you just because your friend is this, you don't have to believe that. Find that middle ground. At the end of the day, we are all human. We belong to the human race, and we can bring the human race forward, make it great, make it good, make it impactful. We're all put in this world for a reason. So let's stand up, fight for the right. I'm happy for you to disagree with my points of view. I just want you to come up with an alternate point of view that resonates, that makes sense. Not just I don't think you're right because I don't think you're right. Well, give me the reasons why you don't think I'm right with reliable sources. That's the beauty of being a scientist or a social scientist. Where there's evidence, where there's proof, we can change our minds. My bias is towards peace and the well being of people and places every time. I'm Dr. Jessica from New Zealand. Until next time, stay true, be blessed, and sparkle wherever you are.